Well, it's a beautiful Friday morning here in Abuja, and let's welcome you from our Enugu Center to our Abuja Center on Signature Morning this Friday. My name is Mwaboz Njoko. Now, just yesterday, President Bola Ahmed TINUBU visited Anambra State. Some people say it's all part of the build-up to the 2027 election. This is political salesmanship. But I don't agree. I don't agree, because the president went there to commission some critical projects. In other words, what the president did was to go to Anambra State to tell the people your government is working. And here is evidence that your government is working. And then in the course of the visit, the president was conferred with a chieftaincy title. A sign of gratitude, isn't it? A sign of acceptance, isn't it? That is why some people are saying, it's all part of political salesmanship. The only thing I need to add this morning is that by Wednesday of next week, you will watch one of our programs, 360 Nigeria. That program will bring up this salesmanship and doing the salesmanship within the rules. There are rules for this political salesmanship. So that is why, for now, I do not think that the president's visit was part of the grand design to build his image towards acceptability in 2027. After all, he is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it is right that when a government succeeds, he should be part of the success story. And by the way, the All Progressives Grand Alliance is the party in power in Anambra State. And the Governor Soludo is attempting a second term on the same party. So the president could not be said to be selling himself. In fact, what he's doing is saying Governor Soludo is working. But the chieftaincy title in 2014, the gentleman who eventually became the president received chieftaincy titles all over the place. He was in Ebonyi State, where he received a wonderful chieftaincy title. Everywhere he went, he was even turbaned. That was a sign of acceptability. And the question is, how acceptable is the president today in respect of his delivery on governance? Beyond going to commission those projects and getting a thank you chieftaincy title, are the Nigerian people endorsing the TINUBU administration's policies? Because that is the taste of the pudding, and that is the eating of the pudding. How tasty is his own political pudding? There are issues, very big issues. The opposition and the ordinary folks are talking about ravaging insecurity at a dimension that this country has not experienced before, where entire communities are wiped out. Is that the taste of the pudding? Is that the pudding we're eating? Now, even our beggars cannot get offerings. People cannot. Not that they don't want to, they don't have the capacity to even help our beggars. So based on what are we saying thank you? Well, the president is quite likely to visit a number of states. Somebody has told me already that the president may also visit Abia State in a short while. Well, I also want to believe that by the time the president visits Abia State, we'll also receive another chieftaincy title. But there is a line that makes me uncomfortable. And that uncomfortable line is that this is the president's method of aggregating followership towards a one-party state. You know, on this program, I've always said, ask no questions and be told no lies. That line is from Charles Dickens. But we shall ask questions. Even this morning, we're going to raise questions. Where are we headed? A one party? Honestly, I, for one, don't believe that Tinubu can achieve a one-party state in Nigeria. Some of those who were in the National Assembly under the leadership of Obasanjo accused him of trying a third term. The project collapsed in his face. Nigeria is a country of various interests. Aggregating Nigerians to a one-party state will be a successful erection of El Dorado. And the way Nigeria is, by the time they start putting the building blocks, as the Bible says, God would put different languages amongst them and they get confused and they come back to what Nigeria is. But that's not the issue for this morning. The issue is going to be a critical look at the coalition talks. What is happening? That is when we come back from this very short break. Please stay with us.
We are local.
We are right now with the wife of the man that was
Why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
we have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Well, we're still here in our Abuja studio and this signature morning. And when I introduced this program, I told you what we are discussing has nothing to do with Tinubu's visit to Anambra State and the chieftaincy title and the build-up to 2027 elections and the argument that everybody has been headed into a one party. That's not the issue. The issue this morning is towards 2027 elections. The coalition talks, do they really make for good governance in Nigeria? Have the individual political parties collapsed, have failed Nigerians? And I have asked my guest somebody who knows, who ought to know, who reads the mind of the minders of this coalition. Paul Ibe. Paul Ibe is the media advisor to His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Paul, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
How did you enjoy the rain of yesterday in Abuja? Did it fall at your end?
No, it didn't. Ironically,
All wind?
we defected away from the rain.
Well, Paul, I'm sure that you heard what I said the topic is going to be, and that is towards 2027 elections, the coalition talks. Will they enhance good governance in Nigeria? Now, Paul, I'm sure you know there are coalition talks going on. Who are talking and which parties are talking? Who are talking?
Good morning, sir. You know, there are things that I cannot tell you. My father of blessed memory used to say to me that if you're a man that they're looking for, you don't come out and say, here I am.
And they behead you.
Because what we have seen, clearly is a deliberate effort to decimate the opposition parties. That is the character signature, not the signature TV, the signature of the TINUBU administration. Because they want to put everybody in one deplorable basket. Unfortunately, that is anti-democracy. And so if you look around all of the opposition parties, you see them, with one problem or the other. And it is deliberate. Minister WIKE, who used to be the governor of Rivers State, has a mandate to decimate the PDP.
Let me interject here. WIKE has openly and publicly said that he is, not that he was, he is a member of the PDP.
Well, it's more like the voice of, the hand of Jacob and the voice of Esau. Clearly, he may just, say that, but he's, what he's been doing lately suggests that he's in cahoots, with the ruling, APC. And, why the problem is that, and again, that is going to define, the 2027 election. It's going to be Nigerians versus the APC. It's not just about the PDP or the Labour Party or the NMPP or APGA, whatever party. There has come a time, for Nigerians to come together, like they did far back in 1999 when they kicked out the military dictatorship. So what we're having now is a civilian dictatorship of the TINUBU administration.
Let me just point to something, Paul. If the APC, as you just said, is tearing the opposition apart, it means that the opposition on its own or on their own put a price tag on themselves and somebody is taking them off the shelf. They put a price tag on their loyalty, on their belonging to their party, on the philosophy of their party, on the ideology of their party, to warrant one group of people coming to take them bits and pieces and paying the price.
Sir, you know that since 2015, and we are now in 2025, that's 10 years, the PDP has been in opposition. And for a people who are used to calling the shots, there's a lot of them are becoming weary. How long will we continue to be in opposition? And so it becomes very easy for someone like WIKE, who understands the game, to dangle the carrot before them. So what we are seeing clearly, especially as it affects the defection, because this defection do not, what is signpost is that some of the leaders, some of the stakeholders, of the PDP have been taken hostage the way people are kidnapped, around the country. They are held hostage. And the defections are a political ransom that they are paying. Clearly. They will show them the results of their corruption, and then
They are sinners.
that's right. So come to APC and sin no
More. Your sins are forgiven.
That is clearly what is at play.
Yeah, Paul, each of our colleagues, each of the political parties that has come here, have raised one fundamental worry. It means, therefore, that people join parties, or in fact, parties are formed and people just join, not out of conviction, not out of philosophy that you subscribe to, not out of an ideology you understand and want to follow. It is just because you are an opportunity seeker, and therefore here is a vehicle to carry you to where you can get a chance maybe to share in the national patrimony. So when you are no longer sharing, benefiting, getting the opportunities, you are a willing defector. How does that help political party governance in Nigeria? When people have no conviction.
That is why it is imperative that politicians need to have a second address so that they will not be susceptible to the stomach infrastructure. I mean, I tend to agree with you. Some of them probably have no conviction. Because other than politics, from where they derive their bread and butter,
What else do they do?
they don't do anything else.
I'm a politician. I'm not a politician.
I mean, they're all seasoned politicians. They don't have anything. They are not running a business. And so that it clearly sees the difference between those of them that have backbones, that have businesses they are run. It's difficult to compromise them. And so some of them have felt that they have been there for too long. I mean, they daggle the carrot before them, and everybody goes. The question is, you are leaving, you have left Egypt, and you're going back to Egypt.
Maybe this time they're going to Babylon.
What does the APC offer other than killings, maimings, and deaths? Other than hunger and poverty? We are not the capital. Apart from being the capital of what poverty, we're also not the capital of malnourished children.
Now, the first question really I'd wanted to ask you when you came in was, what is warranting these coalition talks?
You know, at the end of the last election season, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar had the cause to reflect, and so did some other opposition leaders. And he came to the inevitable conclusion that a knife was put between the things that held them together in the PDP, and things fell apart. If you look at what he did, I mean, he scored 6.9 million, and then Peter will be 6.1 million. That's 13 million minus Kwakwanso's 1.4 million. Atiku Abubakar 12 states. Peter will be 11 states plus FCT. I call it 12 states. At 24. 24 is 2/3 of 36. 13 million from 23 million, the votes have been left about 10 million. And by percentage, that's about 60%. So clearly, a combination of Peter will be, His Excellency Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar will have outrightly won a majority of the election. And then, shortly afterwards, we did an internal polling. And that polling suggests that coalition is the direction to go. We need to harmonize, our strengths. Bring leaders, stakeholders, political interests, individuals, see how we can galvanize them under a very viable, platform. Because, like I said, the language of the TINUBU administration is divide and rule. And if they're allowed to have their way, the same scenario that played out in 2023 will play out. So, whatever policies, no matter how brilliant they are, whatever ideas you have, if you don't reclaim Nigeria, you will never have the opportunity of rebuilding it. And so the discussion, started. It's been a Herculean uphill task, bringing people together. But of course, that is one thing that Atiku Abubakar is very good at. They have been talking, and as I speak to you now, they are on the verge of the, what you call the completion board meeting, so to say. And so sooner than later, it will be, vetted, it will be unveiled.
Public knowledge at least.
Yes, it has been fantastic, and in fact, we have exceeded
your own expectations. So it is the failure of the APC that is warranting this coalition, or the desire to take back power?
It's the desire of Nigerians. Nigeria is at the center, at the core of all of this. Atiku Abubakar, El-Rufai, former Governor Suswan, all of the people, leaders who are associated, are just a means to the end. Of course, if you look at the indices, look at the state of insecurity, I mean, it's like the value of life is meaningless. So TINUBU, in all of the negatives, has surpassed the previous administration. We used to be the largest economy in 2015 when the APC came on board. Today we are number 4 by GDP. A bag of rice used to be about 8,000 in 2015. Forget all the propaganda, of this administration. I bought a bag last week. It was not 58,000 like they are saying. It was in Wuse Market. It is verifiable. It was 87,000.
Okay, 5 looks like 8 anyway.
Well, with the APC,
Doesn't it look like
anything
8?
is possible. You know, it reminds me of the, what was that book, 1984, Animal Farm. There are plenty of grains, you know, in the books, not in the store. You know, I've said it and I need to restate it. You know, President Bola Tinubu was overrated. It was just propaganda. You know, now is the time for him to showcase that fabled Lagos district. He achieved nothing.
His competence
The semblance,
and
any semblance of transforming Lagos was not by Tinubu, it was by Fashola and Ambode. They were the ones who
changed the
face of
Tinubu.
Lagos.
Okay, Paul, you know that we didn't begin quite in time now. As you spoke, I said to myself, coalition, it means to bring in a better situation, but also an admission that the individual parties failed.
There's no doubt about it. Some are not even strong enough, you know, on their own. And so they are just pickings, you know. So if you look at back during the military era of the IBB, he came up with a very innovative idea of the two-party structure. The Americans that we borrowed this our presidential democracy, that's what they have. And so that whatever happens, everybody will find an accommodation, either you're ideologically to the left or right, in one of those parties. So that probably that is the direction that we are headed. Otherwise, the APC will have their way, and all of us will be in one big, like I say, deplorable basket.
Yeah, let me just imagine for me to be educated, really. APC, I can still play back its formation, demonizing the government in power, and then an aggregation of political heavyweights and all that, and before we knew it, coalition, no merging, no dissolution, then APC emerged. These talks on coalition, will they eventually birth a new party?
You know, the difference between what we are having now and what we had in 2013, leading up to the formation of the APCs, is that this one is not. This one is driven by Nigerians, because I mean, look at it. You are aware that the PDP, governors have said no, they will not buy. So you ask yourself, where is the impetus? Where are they getting it? It is the people that are driving it. Okay. But I know that there will be alignments and realignments, and as soon as the train takes off the station, it's going to have multiple stops along the way, and I bet you that people are going to come on board. The objective, like I told you, is first of all to reclaim. If you don't reclaim, you will never have the opportunity of rebuilding.
I'm trying to define the vehicle for this reclaiming.
Okay.
Is it going to be a loose relationship, or is a new political party likely to emerge?
It's not a new political party. It's not going to be a new political party, because you and I know that the INEC controlled, the APC controlled INEC will not register new political parties. But those who have been saddled with the task of betting, this coalition, I'll find a way around it. And
okay.
I wouldn't want to take
I hope in time to come I will get to know the details. But please, allow me put an image, a graphic of the APC as a party. It's purely my own. People got together. Some from ANPP, from NPP, from PDP, majority of them from PDP, and they came together and they formed APC. APC has turned that to be, as I just asked you now, before I land on this question, go back to 1997, before the military exited. With all due respect to you, PDP emerged as a special purpose vehicle. PDP was not like NCNC. PDP was not like Action Group. PDP was not like NEPU. PDP was not like NPC or the First Republic, which parties had driving philosophies and principles and thoughts, call it ideology if you may. On this program, I've had to recount the progressive steps taken by Sir Ahmadu Bello in northern Nigeria, no matter how conservative you said NPC was. Ahmadu Bello drove people out of house and home in the communities, forcing them to send their children to school. So that when he was a beneficiary of that policy. PDP had no such conviction. NEPO, which turned out to be PRP under Aminu Kano, stood till the end of that man's death on the emancipation of the Talakawa. It was a philosophy. Awolowo's Action Group, which turned out to be which other party in the Second Republic, was won on 3 issues: an educated society, an overproduced agriculture, and industrialization. And the man kept on to those 3 items until he died. Please, sir, PDP had no such soul. It was an aggregation of people to whom the military wanted to hand over power, with neither philosophy, principle, structure. Today, sir, APC has emerged same route. Now coalition talks are going on. When we claim the power, we can then utilize it. Please, sir, what is the driving principle, the driving thought, the driving philosophy beyond reclaiming power this coalition is bringing on board so that they can birth the kind of Nigeria you've spoken to me about this morning? I'm sorry I took so long able to put this down.
So, I mean, you have probably in just about 2 minutes, you have given us the status of Nigeria in the last 1960 to now. You know, leading up to the 23 election, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar took a look, at our situation, took a look at what worked, in the first republic that you alluded to, and his policy that he unveiled and made public for Nigerians to review and make inputs into, took cognizance, about that. He understands that education and entrepreneurship is at the core of whatever developments that we seek to achieve. He understands about the role of inclusiveness being a tool of national unity and stability. And that was at the core of his blueprint. Don't forget, sir, during the Obasanjo era, universal basic education that became a law was supposed to give free education up to the early
the first 9 years.
Why did it fail? It failed because a lot of the governors refused to sign up by doing their own counterpart funding to access, the funds. Perhaps they were prepared to leave the people vulnerable, leave them uneducated so that they can be easily be manipulated. So that is the reality. The federal government, people forget that a lot of power and opportunities exist at the state level. So it is important. And that is why the whole idea of trying to see whether we can, do some reconfiguration, and maybe the states can still exist, and then the regional this thing will come in. Arrangement. So that a whole lot can be achieved at that level when states in a region pool strengths, pool resources. Some form of coalition too, if you want to say that. And so that you can do a lot of things. You can do train within your region without necessarily have to
be a national project.
And so if you can do all of that, your region becomes viable. And there will be competition. That was what existed during the era that you spoke about. Healthy competition. You want to be like the South, East wants to be like what is obtainable in the South-South. The South-South wants to, imitate and all of that. And it's a healthier competition. Nigeria will be the better, for it. That is, what underpins the philosophy of Atiku Abubakar, which I know is going to rub off on, a lot of the leaders. Also, I mean, His Excellency Peter Obi is an apostle of productivity, as opposed to, consumption. So, and that's why a lot of people are saying that, with the two leaders coming together with other leaders, I mean, it may yet be, a new day, for Nigeria.
Okay, Paul, it may yet be a new day. Just as you spoke now, you mentioned the powers of the state governments to affect development at that level. In considering any arrangement, in considering the birthing of a new order through this coalition, are you people talking to the governors? Because I've seen that in Nigerian political configuration, you cannot wish away the governors. I ask you this question, Paul, because apart from you knowing the why and the wherefore, you should know the how. Are you talking with the governors? Are they buying into this thought and this process?
Everything is on the table. We cannot afford to take anything for granted. The governors are stakeholders, respected stakeholders in any political party, whether it's the PDP or the APC or the Labour Party. But we must also not forget that there are also other stakeholders. In fact, and indeed, the biggest stakeholders are Nigerians. His Excellency Peter Obi went into the 2023 election without a governor. He came out of it with the governor of Abia State, a number of senators, House of Reps, 6.1 million votes, was on the verge of claiming Lagos State, if not for the political Oro. And indeed, even the gentleman who was, who threw up that political Oro, he also became a victim in the politics of Lagos State. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that we respect the governors, and they have said their opinion and all of that. They may be disagreeable, with what is going on time, but it's only a matter of time. You know that 24 hours is a very long time in politics.
So they say.
They will get on board. They will.
Paul, you see why I asked that question?
Yes.
You in fact mentioned it, took the wind off my sail when you said that the PDP governors have not at least openly endorsed the coalition talks. And in these talks, the biggest animal in this kingdom is the PDP. And if the talks succeed, PDP has so much to take along. And I want to believe that His Excellency Elijah Atiku Abubakar is still a major man in the PDP. If he moves without his lieutenants buying into the same project, what is the likelihood really that PDP will be taken along? Or will His Excellency shred the PDP, take the chunk he wants and continue the talks?
Oh, he has said it clearly. He remains a member of the PDP.
He has said so.
Or who have a coalition. And coalition is like
PDP and other parties.
A coalition.
Of PDP and for whom I'm asking, PDP, this is a party talk.
PDP, like I said 2 days ago, that the PDP invariably will even be the biggest beneficiary of a coalition.
But there has to be PDP in that talk.
Yes, they have to. And let me also tell you what is also playing out. It's all about the politics of 2027, especially as it relates to first-time, governors. You see, it's not everybody. Even though the PDP governors, release a communique, it's not everybody that is opposed. The majority of yes, for strategic reasons. This is not the time. It is too early in the day. And even the governors of the APC. Oh yes. It may shock you that even governors will...
my colleagues in other media houses who are following this conversation this morning across the country will be interested for us to speak clearly, in clear tones, in clear words. Are you saying, I'm not saying are you insinuating, are you saying that some APC governors might in fact be interested in these coalition talks?
Have you ever been out in the rain on a stormy day, windy, and if you don't hold on to something, you may be swept away? That's why when I drive, whenever there is such storm, I clear off the road. I park and I wait for it because it has a tendency to clear everything on the
with it.
When this movement gets going, it will be like a whirlwind. It will pick up everything.
Okay. Okay. Just before you came into the studio, I had used one expression which I love so much to use, and that is Charles Dickens' line of "Ask no questions and be told no lies." But Paul, I must ask questions for me to get at the truth, isn't it? That's my responsibility.
That's right.
Well, I'm sure you're enjoying this conversation this morning. I'm speaking, as I described him, as a man who knows the why and the wherefore. And just in this conversation, I said he should also know the how of the coalition talks, the media aid to His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, my brother and friend Paul Ibe. We take a break and return shortly. Please stay with us. Well, we're still here. My producer says, please, you don't have more than 7 minutes to go. Please do quickly and round up. Paul, I want some specifics, if you don't mind. In the course of this conversation, you mentioned some names as those in the talks. Can I ask you pointedly, is P2B in the talk?
I would have loved...
Give me a direct answer.
I would have loved for us to tarry a while so that you will probably hear it from the man, himself, directly. What I can tell you is that he has been part of this process from the beginning. I mean, those, who are driving this process recognize the strength that he brings. His participation is, like the, it is akin to the icing on the cake. And that is how, important, he is.
Okay, I will accept to be patient, but there's something over which I'm not going to be patient. And I'd have to ask it immediately. Here, just before I went on break, I said, besides knowing the why and the wherefore, this is a person who also knows the how. Paul, you've talked about insecurity here.
That's right.
You have talked about very weak performance of the economy. You've talked about putting prices and trying to get what you want. These are not positive outcomes of governance. They are bad house. If this movement, which you've called the people's movement, how else is it going to do things? And don't be quick to answer me, because I'm going to tell you that since the return to the Fourth Republic, no party has told us clearly this is how we are going to do something, so that we can hold them to it. It is either they provide us water, improve our health, improve our education, improve our economy, improve our foreign relations, increase the foreign reserve. This is what is mouthed by every other political party seeking power. They never get to tell us how. And when we find ourselves in the situation you have just described this morning, they can say, we didn't tell you how we are going to do it, so we cannot hold you to it. How will this coalition, Paul, what is the how of this coalition? And that's my last question.
You know, it is still early days.
Okay.
The coalition is an ongoing, process.
Not crystallized yet.
You know, in our climate, maybe elsewhere in Europe, but here you do not name a child before the child is born. I think we are jumping the gun, because until we have a coalesced structure, in place, coming around, because first of all they have to agree, they are coming together and all of that, and then have a structure, and then they will now move to the stage of the policies and all of that. And I think it's still early days, because by the time they they sit down and then they begin to put together, they have an idea, and I can't sit here and begin to go ahead of them, to begin to.
Okay. Paul, my producer says, your last question: can this coalition talks, can they collapse?
It is not being built, put together, for it to collapse. It will not collapse.
Thank you. Well, Paul says these coalition talks will not collapse. He also says it is not because of one man's ambition that they are talking. It is a people's movement in the interest of the people. Well, before he came into the studio, I had said the taste of the pudding is always in the eating. And since the pudding is not cooked, we cannot begin to eat and know the taste. All we can do this morning is to thank Paul for finding time to come to our studios this Friday morning. Paul?
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And this conversation never ends. Of course, you know for a fact that one day we'll be here. How will you do with the weekend? My producer says, don't say Monday, because we could be here tomorrow, in fact, because there's an issue that Nigerians need to know about. If that works out, we'll talk tomorrow morning. But for now, it is a Friday. Let the weekend start rolling. My name never changes. It is Mwabozi Njoko. Enjoy the rest of the day. Good morning.